My name is Elizabeth. I work in the field of child and mental health research and then sometimes also do public health research, and welcome to my channel. So today's tutorial is going to be on case control matching in SPSS, and perhaps in later videos we'll kind of cover how to case control match using other data analysis platforms, but today it's just SPSS. So what is case control matching? So as you may have gathered, it is the process of matching a control to a case. And in health research, even the most pertinent example, as we can see today, for example, the COVID vaccinations, right? No matter how you feel about those, the type of research they have done is basically case control matching in a more double-blind study. So in that example, the control would have been a placebo. So anything that doesn't actually contain the actual treatment measured up against a case. So this would be a treatment or the treatment group. And now the important thing to remember about case and controls is that it doesn't necessarily have to be in the health example, for example, a placebo and a treatment group. It can be any type of group membership. It can be one type of therapy versus another, one type of city versus another. There are many applications of this, and it's not just in health research that you would use this. And the important thing to also remember about case control matching is that usually we match based on confounding variables. So things like gender, things like age, things like race are things that a lot of researchers case control match on so that ostensibly you have the same groups. So this means that there's not a lot of confounding variables interfering with any of the analysis that you're doing. So ostensibly it's the same group. You have the same proportion of gender or gender assignments. You have the same proportion of people belonging to each age group. And so then when you do the analysis, you can be more confident that the significant factor here is not necessarily age, gender, or any other confounding variable, but it's more so the group membership. So the tutorial we're going to be focusing on today, completely made up. So it's a proposed hypothetical study looking at the efficacy of trauma-informed cognitive behavioral therapy, or TCBT, versus art therapy. And the outcome variable here is going to be CBCL, internalizing and externalizing scores. CBCL is just the child behavior checklist, which is a psychometric used for children aged 6 to 18. So that's the example, and now we're going to head over to the tutorial.
So this is a random data set that I created. There's 100 cases here. The client ID is here. The age, the treatment modality, gender, CBCL internalizing, and CBCL externalizing scores. For the treatment modality, 0 is TCBT and 1 is art therapy, and for gender, 0 is male, 1 is female. And so this is the data that we are going to be importing into SPSS. So this is how SPSS looks once you've opened it. I'm just going to click out of this because it's not necessary. So this is the data view, and I'm going to import the Excel file into SPSS. So to do that, got it here. I'm going to go to File, Import, and there's a couple of data options here depending on how you saved your data. So mine is saved in Excel, so I'm just going to click Excel. And then this is our data set. I'm just going to open. I'm going to give a chance for SPSS to do its thing. This is just the worksheet it's in, and you can choose whatever options are relevant in this section. But I'm just going to click OK. An output window is going to pop up, and then your data set is going to pop up. So if you would recall, our variables were client ID, age, treatment modality, gender, CBCL internalizing, and then CBC externalizing scores. Sorry, I'm just going to put 1 here just so there's no missing data. From the previous Excel sheet, 0 was TCBT, and 1 was art therapy, and gender, 0 represented male, 1 represented female. So to label those values, I'm actually going to go to the variable view, and you can switch from the bottom right. I'm going to go to the values, and this is CBT. I'm going to add. And then for one, remember it was art therapy, so I'm just going to enter art and then click OK. I'm going to do the same for gender. I'm going to click on the ellipses, type in 0, male, and then 1 was female. I'm going to click enter, and these aren't really relevant, so I'm just going to delete them. Okay, so this is the data. To toggle back and forth between the actual numbers and the labels that we've provided for the numbers, you can just click this icon and it will switch them back and forth for you. So once we've labeled all our variables and we've made sure that there's no missing values, we're going to now match the data, of course. And now we've already said that we want to match based on gender and then based on age. So to do that, we're going to go over to data. About 3/4 of the way down, there's an option for case control, matching. That's what we're going to select. You're going to see a pop-up window, and it's going to contain all the variables in your data set. Now there's the 6 variables that we have, and then there's some options over here. So we've already determined that we want to match based on age and gender, so I'm going to select those options here. Now for match tolerance, each tolerance is going to be separated by a space. So, or you can enter the space bar. So for age, I'm going to select 0. In a case, for example, where you've entered the date of birth and you've asked, let's say in this case, Excel to calculate the age based on the date of birth, Excel might provide you an age with 2 or 1 decimal points. So for example, it might be 13.1, 26.3, what have you. In that case, then you would then select 0 point, whatever you want the tolerance to be. So for example, let's say you might want you might be okay with 26.0 being matched with a 26.3. That's the instance where you would use that decimal point there. For numerical values, you can select what level of tolerance you're comfortable with. But with string values and categorical values or variables, it's best to just use 0. But in this case, because I don't have any decimal places in age, I'm just going to enter 0. And then space, and then the next variable is gender, and gender is a categorical variable, so I'm just going to enter 0 for that. Your group indicator is the variable that contains the group distinction. So in this case, it's the treatment modality. The case ID, in this case, is the client ID. And then the names for the match ID, I'm just going to enter match ID. And this is the ID that it's going to match based on. So for example, let's say our first client over here, 1001, the match ID is just going to be the variable name for what it's going to be matched to. So for example, it would be client ID, and then you'll see match ID. So what the ID matches, and let's say the ID matches 10882, then that would be the variable that would contain that. And then the name for the match group variable, you can choose anything. So I'm just going to pick TRT. So next I am going to toggle over to additional output. I'm going to ask SPSS to create a new data set of matches. So once it's selected the matches, it's going to pull it out into a new data set for me. So I'm just going to pick anything. So I'm just going to say, I don't know, treatment matches, and then click enter, and then OK. So this is sometimes an error that you may see. List of fuzz values does not contain list by variables. So let's see what happened here. Oh, there you go. So this is, if you recall, the data set that we asked Excel to pull from the main data set. So if you'll notice, everything here is all the zeros. All the zeros are all the clients who had TCBT, if I can remember correctly. And then this is their match ID of the matches into. Now you'll see that for all the client IDs, there's a corresponding ID that matches. So we're going to grab those IDs from the main data set, and you can grab them just by looking into here. So all of these are the corresponding match IDs in the previous data set. So how can we merge these and kind of make sense of this? So what we're going to do is we're going to stay on the main data set, the one that contains all our clients, all our values. And since our match IDs are here, some values are 0, some have other numbers in there. We're going to go to data, select cases, and we're going to enter this option if condition is satisfied. We're going to select match ID, and we're going to enter it in here, and does not equal 0. This will pick up, eliminate all the blanks, and it will just focus on the cases that have IDs in them. So we're going to enter OK, and we are going to select copy selected cases into a new data set. And we're just going to name this data set, we'll name it all the ones. We'll do that. And we'll click OK. So now we have 3 separate data sets. We have the one that contains all our values, all our 100 clients, all their ages, their treatment modalities. And then we have another one, which is the treatment matches, which was determined when we use the case control matching to select the matches. And then there's this other one where we pulled from the main data set, and we filtered to select the match IDs. So these are the 3 data sets that you'll be left with, right? And notice that these ones have all the ones. So all the art therapy clients, or if you would. So now it's time to merge all the ones and then all the zeros. So all the cases and controls, if you can think about it that way. So to do so, you would click data, merge, it's about halfway through, and you'll see an option for add cases and add variables. Add variables adds columns, and add cases adds rows. In this case, we want rows. So we're going to go to add rows, and then we're going to select Untitled 3. Untitled 3 is just the treatment matches with all the zeros. We're going to enter, and yeah, so this seems correct. This is just all the variables that we want inputted into the new active data set. We're going to enter OK. So now what SPSS has done is taken all the matches and put them in here into one data set. So we've merged the two. So as you can see here, there are 68 files, or 68 clients in this data set. Square test on the categorical variables, so on the variable gender, and we're going to run a t-test on age. So to run a chi-square test, I'm just going to go to Analyze. Oh, am I on the wrong one? Yep, Analyze, Descriptive Statistics, and then go to Crosstabs. It doesn't matter which one is in the row or column, but you do want treatment modality to be in the row, in one of them. Column, and then you're going to go to Statistics. You're going to enter chi-squared, click OK. And then this is the pop-up window. So it tells you the number of males and females in each treatment modality, and you can tell that it's even. So there's 16 males, 18 females in TCBT, and 16 males, 18 females in art therapy. And when you scroll down, you can see that there's no significant difference between the treatment modalities and gender. So we're going to run a t-test for age just to make sure that there's no significant differences there. The test variable is age. The grouping variable is treatment modality. We're going to enter. And we can see here that the treatment modality, the mean ages are 8.09 and 8.09. If you hit enter, for example, if there were decimal places in the ages, you might see that this is a little bit different if you set the match tolerance to, for example, 0.3 or 0.01, whatever the match tolerance is. Sometimes the means will show here. And you can tell, of course, that there's no significant differences between the two groups here. So which means that SPSS has effectively matched the clients in each treatment modality. So there's no obvious significant differences in here. So you can go ahead and save the data set, and this would be the data set that you would now be able to work off of and do and perform any further analysis on.